What is your thinking about Russian people in technique in blockchain space?
I think Russian community is one of the most active communities in the blockchain space from the very early days. I think I think given the deep understanding and deep background in mathematics, in IT, in technology, makes is very easy for the Russian community to understand this. So we see Russian community being one of the key markets for any cryptocurrency or blockchain business. And from our data, we also see a lot of activity in Russia. And on top of that, there are many strong projects in Russia. So there are many strong developers that are developing relatively interesting, very interesting products. And if you look at some of the more famous projects, including Ethereum, Vitalik was born in Russia.
Yes, yes.
Even Trust Wallet founder Victor, he's also have some Russian European roots. So we think this is a very key market for the growth of the industry. I think so. That's why I'm here. We're trying to learn more about it.
Do you think it's possible that Bitcoin will reach a price record and just keep growing and growing over the next 2 to 5 years? Maybe 2 to 5 years. What will be the price of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash? Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Actually, right now, I am not particularly bullish on Bitcoin. People are just buying it because others are buying it, so it's creeping up. That's why we are seeing prices that are too high, again. A lot of people are saying and writing online that it's better to buy it, but smart investors invest before everyone else. If you look objectively at Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, the latter is accepted everywhere just like the former, if not more. But at the same time, it offers faster, cheaper, and more reliable transactions. Essentially, what Bitcoin has right now is all because of its name, which is recognized all over the world. And people mistakenly believe that it is a safer bet. But I don't think so at all. Bitcoin on spot exchanges is traded more often, 60 to 70 times more than Bitcoin Cash. But if you look at Grayscale, which is traded on the United States Stock Exchange, which allows traditional funds to flow into Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, the latter is trading at 5 times the price of Bitcoin. This means that people with traditional funds feel better about Bitcoin Cash than the spot prices at the moment. So I think that this is a bullish sign for Bitcoin Cash in the long-term perspective. And everyone looking at the two platforms now sees that the choice is obvious and it's Bitcoin Cash. It has to be Bitcoin Cash because the other one's transactions are too expensive, slow, and unreliable. So I would put initial investments specifically into projects being built on top of Bitcoin Cash and using tokens and other great things in it. I think in the long-term perspective, it definitely looks much better than Bitcoin. But you should have a diversified portfolio. I also have a lot of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum and Dash and Monero and various other tokens, including Ripple. Even though people on the internet really do hate it. But you can't deny that Ripple transactions are very fast and cheap and so far reliable too. And that's exactly what people want and what Bitcoin Cash can provide right now.
Let's touch on this topic. Right now, Slava and I have very actively adopted a strategy for ourselves, index investing, and we've applied it to cryptocurrencies. So I'll very briefly explain what we're doing. We're buying Bitcoin, Ether, Polkadot, and some other assets. Index investing. Every week for the same amount, we buy Bitcoin, Ether, Polkadot, and some other assets. And generally, what's your opinion on index investing? Is it the right approach if we're looking at a time frame of, say, 3 to 5 years? Or is it better to pick some better entry points into the market and, lock in profits?
Max, let me explain one thing to you. Look, everything depends on a very simple factor, and that's where this instrument will be in 5 years, right? For example, Tesla can't be worth zero, Merck can't be worth zero, Pfizer can't be worth zero. These are companies that earn billions of dollars. Netflix can't be worth zero. Spotify can't be worth zero. They might have slightly fewer subscribers, active ones, but they're constantly doing something. But can you guarantee me that Bitcoin can't be worth zero?
No, I can't. But with the caveat that we believe in these assets.
Correct. Index investing, it's only designed for example, if it were the S&P that you're showing, right? Then for the last, since 29, after the crash of 29, the indices have only gone up. And in theory, you could say that this might very well continue further. In theory, I trade differently. I don't buy indices because I can buy the companies I like better myself. Yeah, for example, I bought Fisker at $13, and today it's like 21, 22. I buy certain companies. Yeah, you can put FSR on the list. FSR, right? You've got them all there. You have Lucid there, PTEN. You have PPTEN. You can put PTEN there too. Fisker is continuing to do very well. Yeah, PTEN. PTEN had a very big problem with their quarterly reports. It's clear that PTEN won't get out of this so quickly, won't recover from its losses because their revenue dropped significantly. But at the very least, this company isn't zero regarding index investments. Index investments are good for someone who doesn't understand anything. Well, then you could buy FANG, for example. I mean, if we're talking stocks, right? You can buy Facebook, you can buy Amazon, you can buy Apple, you can buy Netflix, Google, figuratively speaking. If I were buying, I'd buy the top tier companies that are growing, more than 20% a year. The same Google, the same Amazon, the same Facebook, the same Tesla. These are companies that are growing and will continue to grow over the next 5 years. If you go to any self-respecting information sources, you will see that you can easily check it out. Those same companies say they're making approximate calculations for the next 5 years, right? And Google said in the next 5 years, we'll be growing by more than 15%. Then Facebook said, we'll be growing by more than 15%. Then Apple said, we're going to grow. The same advanced micro devices, the same NVIDIA.
So, what do you think about the price of Bitcoin? Well, if you look only at the technical side, Bitcoin is very bullish right now. If you look at the stock-to-flow model, which everyone is worried about right now, you can see that Bitcoin has been steadily going up for the last 11 years that it's been traded. And if you rely on that, then from a technical standpoint, Bitcoin is going to grow. There was a bear market just like several times before after record prices. I would say that Bitcoin will be worth somewhere around $100, $200, or $300,000 before the end of the next big hype cycle. 20,000 was the price in the last such cycle. 1,000 was the price in the one before that. So I'm expecting from 100 to 300,000 in the next cycle. I think that this will happen within 2 years. But that's only the technical side. If you look at something more powerful and important, at the currency system and how it's developing, then the bullish scenario becomes even more obvious. We know that a huge amount of currency is being printed. People are no longer confident in the dollar and other fiat currencies. In my opinion, in Brazil, Turkey and Argentina, there's just massive inflation. Right now in these countries, Bitcoin is being traded at record prices relative to local currencies because they are devaluing very quickly. Bitcoin volumes in these countries are jumping like crazy because people don't use and don't want to use the currency. If let's say you get a salary of $2,000 and next week it turns into $16,000, then you have problems. You need to move your funds into something more stable. And Bitcoin becomes a lifeboat for such people. I think that this will happen on a global scale as well. We see how the dollar is devaluing. This has never happened before. And when people are no longer confident in the dollar, in the world's reserve currency, then the problem stops being just national. You can't blame everything on an emerging market or just a country. No, this is already a global problem. The world's reserve currency backs up other fiat currencies around the world. Which means that the whole system, the whole currency system as we know it, is in danger, and it doesn't have much longer to live. I think that sooner or later a collapse of the system will occur. It's only a matter of time. We will see things that have never happened before. Let's go back to the times of the Roman Empire. They also allowed the devaluation of the currency. It's exactly the same now. In their case, it led to the fall of an entire empire. They had gold coins, they used gold coins. Then the government took 1,000 gold coins from taxes. They started adding cheap metals to these coins like copper and iron, which devalued the money. Now they ended up with 2,000 coins. The government doubled the amount of money it can spend on welfare, war, and so on. Of course, the amount of gold remained the same. They just mixed it with cheap metals. This is called deficit spending. Now the government is doing the same thing. And here we go again. No one learns from history's mistakes. In short, what's happening now is exactly why Bitcoin was created. Bitcoin was created for the event of a currency system collapse. More and more people, we're talking about hundreds of millions of people, will potentially pour into Bitcoin over the coming decades. I think Bitcoin, being the best version of money in the world, in my opinion, because it can't be debased, it's decentralized, there's no third-party risk. Bitcoin will be the best alternative when this massive crisis hits. Let's consider this idea. Imagine the dollar falls, all fiat currencies will also fall. Will Bitcoin become the new global reserve currency? This means Bitcoin's market cap must prevail over all other currencies. At the same time, the value of other currencies is about $100 trillion. This would lead to Bitcoin being worth about $5 million by today's standards. If you factor in inflation, Bitcoin will be worth $1 trillion or $4 quadrillion because the currency we measure it against is debasing. Bitcoin has huge potential to reach $5 million relative to today's money. That is my ultimate goal for Bitcoin. But we need to wait 15 to 20 years, or maybe even longer. I think this is my moon mission, my moon goal. I think the fundamentals of all this are also on my side. You don't have to be a genius to see the currency system is in for a rough time. It's already happening. It seems like everything is rising every week, every month, while the Federal Reserve and other central banks keep pushing the boundaries more and more, no matter what. If you want to ride a Lamborghini to the moon, you'll have to wait another 10 or 20 years. This is my Bitcoin price prediction for the next 20 years. But as I said, within the next 2 years, I think Bitcoin will be above $100,000. And that's more of a technical point of view.